Hi everyone, it's Mark here, and we've got another video on IELTS Task 1 for the academic writing test. Today we're looking at bar charts. Let's start. First of all, as always, I want you to practice and repeat. That is the most important thing. This is not something you can just learn about or watch videos about. My advice, I want you to practice and also repeat. If you like this video, I would recommend watch it again. A lot of the information in here, you don't just want to know it and understand it. You want to internalize these skills. And that's going to come with repetition. Secondly, in this part of the test, a lot of teachers out there are teaching fancy grammar and vocab. I want you to focus on your analysis of the data and the structure of what you write. If you do that, you'll find this is a lot easier to do. It is a skill. You need to practice. And that kind of fits in with the next point. Do not memorize and show off your fancy grammar and vocabulary. There's a few reasons for this. One, I think you're spending time learning the wrong things. Secondly, I used to see a lot of mistakes with this. People would learn all these exciting pieces of language like slight increase, slight decrease, and then they would try to use it inappropriately or they would make mistakes with it. And really, I know you guys are all aiming for 6.5 and 7, and in the end, you need more than just cute vocabulary. So my main advice to people is always take 5 minutes to analyze the data. So you have to learn to look at this data like an analyst, like an economist, like an investor. Look at the big picture, and that takes practice. Check out the other videos I have here. They'll help a lot with that. When you start writing, support the trends with data. If it increases, how much? If it decreases, how much? Give me numbers. So trend and data. Highlight interesting aspects of the data as well and try to identify the overall. So let's just start. I want you to have a look at this task here. You can see the chart below shows how frequently people in the USA ate in fast food restaurants between 2003 and 2013. All right, so you can see we've got 2003, 2006, and 2013. Then you've got percentages. We've got every day, several times a week. You know what? I'll just let you take a look. My advice, take 5 minutes, go for it. Okay, as I hope you did, if you didn't, press pause and take a look for 5 minutes and then come back. All right, let's go into this. Welcome back. We are looking at some of the notes that I've made. What I noticed here is you had both frequent and infrequent consumers of fast food. I put every day, several times, and once a week in the category of frequent consumers, and I put infrequent as once or twice a month, a few times a year, or never. Now, by the way, I'll mention this again at the end, but part of the reason I was able to do this is because, I read a lot, I watch documentaries, I watch the news, I pay attention to things like food and health. And if you ask most dietitians or doctors, how often is it okay to eat fast food? They will probably say once a month is okay, but never is great. So once a month became sort of my bar for saying infrequent. And just please remember that. Any of these writing tasks, you're not just when you analyze it, you have to analyze it based on your knowledge. That's really going to help you organize. So please, I hope you're not just, studying English, but you're learning more about the world. You're learning more about what's happening. That's going to make this a lot easier. So let's look into the notes. Frequent, every day, 4% drops. Several times a week, drops. Once a week, also drops. So infrequent, downward trend. Then infrequent. Ooh, I'm not looking there yet. Infrequent, this one goes in the other direction. Infrequent eaters, increasing trend. All right, so those who ate once or twice a month, that one increased by the end. A few times a year, that increased, and this one dropped. All right, so the never consume fast food, that one dropped, but not a lot. But I've noted the drop. Now let's take a look at the answer. So here you can see I've pretty much just copied that first sentence. My advice is don't worry about paraphrasing. I know a lot of teachers love to tell you to paraphrase, but if you spend like 3 minutes paraphrasing, you are wasting time, and this does not really make a difference to your score. Just make sure that you write another 150 words, and you'll be fine. It's really more efficient to just take 10 seconds and write out the same sentence. I just omitted a few words. Controversial opinion, but I guarantee you it's just a waste of time to paraphrase all that, unless you can do it in a few seconds. Overall, people seem to be eating fast food less. So I used the word seem because, well, this is just a little bit of data. We don't know everything. So I just left it there. People seem to be eating fast food less. The number of frequent fast food consumers drops. So here I've got the overall, like I've got the trend noted there. And here I get into the trend data. Those who eat every day falls from 4% in 2003 to 3% in both 2006 and 2007. So I've got trend and data. Now you're probably going, oh, shouldn't you say falls slightly? Well, here I've noted something interesting. Despite being a small proportion, it is losing a quarter of its value. So just keep that in mind. Like, that is a lot. If this was 100 people in 2003, it's now 75 people. That is a big drop. So, remember, 25 to 24% is not that big a deal, but 4% to 3%, that's much more noticeable. So really, this is one of those things you want to think about when you're analyzing, and why analyzing is a skill you want to practice. And by the way, if you want good grammar, you have to have good ideas. And look at this, despite being a small proportion. So watch the other videos I've got here. They show different ways to use this grammar point. And you do get grammar scores for your IELTS writing task 1. The only way you're going to have higher range of grammar and more control is if your analysis is better. Then I go on. Those who eat several times a week begin at 17% in 2003. After rising to 20% in 2006, it falls to 16% in 2013. So again, I show that overall fast food frequent consumers drop, and then I've got data. So rising trend, and then data 20%. Those eating once a week shows a similar trend. So again, what's the trend? Then I provide the data. And I could add here a similar downward trend, starting at 31% in 2003. And by the way, nice grammar point, shows a similar trend, comma, starting at 31% in 2003, rising to 33% before finally falling to 28%. So that is a gorgeous sentence. It shows a trend, comma, starting. All right, then we move on to the other one, the infrequent consumers. And look at this nice difference here. The number of frequent fast food consumers drops. So here I've got subject, verb, then down here, quite differently. Those who eat infrequently, that shouldn't be there, generally shows the opposite trend. So I've made the comparison. one of the things you need to do is compare the data sets. Those who eat once or twice a week starts at 30%. Okay. Although it drops notably to 25% in 2006, it then shoots up to 33% in 2013. Now, I chose to do this one, although, so I said, yes, it does fall, but then it rises again. There's other ways I could have done this. I might take a moment just to highlight or to show you that. It rises, oh, sorry, wrong one. It falls in 2006, and then I could say like dropping to 25%. So again, I get that kind of nice trend data. It then shows a notable upward movement. So again, trend rising to 33% in 2013. So that's another way. You'll see these kinds of sentences in my other videos quite frequently. But I thought this one would work fine. I kind of go the other way. Although it drops in 2016, it then shoots up. Be careful. I don't love this phrasal verb, but it's fine. Those eating a few times a year rises from 12% to 15%. Now, interesting, I just stopped repeating the 2006-2013. You don't need to mention it every other time. You can also see in the first body paragraph, I did the same thing. I eventually stopped mentioning the different years because it gets a bit repetitive. You can see in this paragraph, I've done it again, 2016, and 2013, but since the trends over here don't really do that much, I've decided to just leave it quite simple. Those who never eat, fast food, falls from 5% to 4%. This is the only infrequent consumer group to drop, but it only does so slightly. And I love that one. It only does so. Okay, so there you go, everybody. That is task 1 for bar charts. Take a look at that and watch the video. Really pay attention to the different grammar points. You'll see the other ones that I do. I use similar techniques and structure. And really, one of those things that I strongly recommend is pay attention to things like this here. Despite being a small proportion, it is losing a quarter of its value. So that's a much smaller number now. I mean, imagine if that had been 2%, it's lost half the value. So very important thing to be paying attention to. Anyway, as I said at the beginning, remember to practice and repeat. If you've got your test tomorrow, well, I wish you the best of luck, but hopefully you've got a few months to practice. And yeah, as I said, focus on your analysis and structure, and then the grammar will come. Because the thing is, without analysis and structure, there is no need for not complicated, but complex grammar. Anyway, I wish you all the best of luck. Feel free to leave any questions, comments in the comment section, and I'll see you next time.